Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, we love seeing you live every Thursday night, Facebook and YouTube. Chats are always fun. Those are great. Remember, your chats may show up in the show. So keep yourself in check. And if you can't catch us live, catch us in the replay or in your favorite podcasting app. You know me, John Ruart, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Next up, worshipful emeritus, Joe Martinez.
Hello. Good evening. Hello. I heard they're remaking that. Hi, Joe Martinez, past master, Manassas Lodge, number 182 in Manassas, Virginia, and member of Things and Stuff. And as always, John, damn glad to be here. How are you?
Is it really, though? It's been too long, man. It feels like it's been
a minute.
It's been some time.
It has. I've missed you.
I've missed you.
Good.
With every shot so far.
Boom.
All right. Robert Johnson will be back. But before we introduce him, let's introduce our special guest for tonight, returning for the sixth time? I don't know.
Wow.
I'm not sure.
Gets a t-shirt.
I myself am, friendly and social, like, the people that you want. So, hi, guys.
Brother
It's been a while that I've seen you. It's been a long time. Hi there. And this is making me sad because for Brother Johnson today, I wore my curling hat that my wife made me. I'm telling you. Like, I did it. I wore this for him, and now I'm sad that he's not here to
go Team USA.
Appreciate the gloriousness of it.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. You've been watching curling, Joe?
Yes. So I grew up. Oh, Joe is. Yeah, I grew up about 2 towns over from where the National Training Center is, and so whenever they show them like the National Training Center, I'm thinking there's a really great like dive restaurant right there near there with a great burger. I know exactly where they are, and so you can actually go there and watch them train. And the fact that curling is an Olympic sport.
Yes. Absolutely, it is.
Crazy.
Loving
chess on ice. All right. So
but it's nice to be back. My name is Chad Kopensky. Oh, hey, Robert's here.
Hey. Titles. Who are you? Remind everyone. Chad.
My name is Chad Kopensky. I am basically a Masonic has-been. Got a lot of pasts. Past Master of a Lodge, Pyramid Theologian in Athens, Ohio. Past President of the Midwest Conference. Past Master of High Lodge of Research. Past Education Chair for the Grand Lodge of Ohio. I got a Masonic past. So
nice. Well, it's great to have you back on here, Robert Johnson. In the flesh. Hello, good evening.
Hello, everybody. Good to be with you. Robert Johnson, past master, Waukegan 78, past master, Space Nova 1183, Premier Education Lodge in the state of Illinois, and secretary of everything I'm in, almost.
Faux life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, let's dive into paying the bills. Let's say hi to the patrons. You guys are awesome. Head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable to keep this free Masonic education going on for many years to come, or at least until 2040.
2040.
I used one of your slides when I was doing the talk at Conference of Grand Masters on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, how that
gave you full credit, but then I also said, like, if any of you are alive, then John's wrong. But
yeah, exactly. Prove me wrong, folks. Prove me wrong.
2040 when I get my Monday nights back.
When you get your Monday nights back.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are alive in 14 years.
I
hope so too. I hope so too. All right. Also, big news. Esotericon is back with a vengeance. Yes. So don't miss out. Head over to esotericon.net to pick up some tickets. That will be in the lovely city of Manassas, Virginia.
Yep.
At Joe's Lodge.
Yes. And let's see who we've announced. Robert Johnson. Yeah. Those are the speakers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hamilton.
I was going to do a talk, and the talk I proposed literally turned out to be something similar to what Billy Hamilton was going to do. So I decided Billy Hamilton's got it, and he's going to do it 100 times better. So, yeah. Kevin Homan, and you had Billy Hamilton, and then who was just before that?
Jamie Paul Lamb.
Oh, that's right.
Lamb.
The Lamb.
The Lamb.
That's a murderer's row of speakers right there.
It
And
is.
still
Got
coming,
more.
yeah.
Jason.
Oh, except that guy.
Yeah.
You know, the thing about Jason is people have asked me like, oh yeah, Jason's so cool. Like, how are his presentations? And I tell them all the time, I'm like, well, it's really not a presentation. It's kind of like a performance.
Mm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, yeah, no, like in the best way. Like I
Yeah.
feel like his presentations are very immersive, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which even for this is going to be not a presentation, but a practical workshop.
So cool.
So yeah.
And
So get
we
your
got
tickets.
2 more speakers to announce. Yeah.
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 We ain't done yet.
Yeah.
Esotericon.net. Pick up your
Yes.
tickets.
And I think I announced this on Facebook. You will get to see all 4 hosts of the Masonic Roundtable as well. So come on down, join us.
Yeah, I think we want to do those monstrous pizzas again.
I'm down for that.
Me too.
Done. We've decided.
They were large. I just saw the pictures of them, and I was
Well,
slightly
you got to
scared.
come keep them with us, Chad Kopensky. Come on down, buddy.
I hope they will. I was found earlier.
Tarot card of the week.
Nobody expects the tarot card of the week.
It just it attacks you like herpes. It's there.
You like that? Put a little herpy in there.
Yes. Who's doing tarot card? Me.
It's
You.
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes, every 6 to 8 weeks. All right, so we are doing tarot card of the week, and I am in honor of Jason, who wasn't able to be here tonight for work purposes. I'm going to do the gift that he got me for Christmas, the Star Trek tarot deck.
Oh, the OG, not the next
Yes.
generation.
Bro.
Yes. We didn't even know this existed. Yes,
What?
That's
very
cool.
cool. Very cool box. Yes,
Oh.
and yeah, we're going to get right into it.
TOSFTW.
It is a very cool deck. Yeah. Let me before I shuffle them, we've got some.
Ooh.
Yeah. We got some George Takei there. Very exciting deck. So we're gonna shuffle these up, and we get. Oh man!
Instead
John.
of the wands, is it the cons?
Let me see. I pulled the card. You're not
I was
gonna be-
proud of that one, RJ. Thank you for the.
It was good. It was delightful.
We've got blades for swords. We've got
Nice.
cups for cups. We've got rods and blades.
You already said blades.
Oh, I did say blades. I'm sorry.
I want to know what coins is, brah.
Coins. Coins are coins.
Yeah,
Coins
cool.
are coins. Credits.
Gold plus Latin.
Platinum.
John, are you ready?
I'm sitting down. No.
Sorry, buddy.
What it is.
It
What do we
is
got?
The tower.
What do we got there?
And on that there a little bit. There we go.
Oh,
A doomsday machine.
The Doomsday Machine.
that's a good one.
The
Wow.
tower. Sorry.
You know, no
Yeah.
joke. The tower's been showing up a lot for me this week.
But not in a bad way.
No.
It's
Could be
just destroying my life completely. But
It'll
transformation. Transformation.
Oh,
yes, forced change.
Yes.
Worst change. Yeah.
Sometimes
The only
that's a good thing,
constant.
Yeah.
you know.
So, which is actually, again, I always love to tie it back into the topic of the show because, holy smokes, just when you thought you were done with John Sherer in episode 492,
He lands on you like a tower.
he just smacks you in the face with more fun.
okay, but to be fair, you started this because if you watch that episode, you made a joke about, well, you should come back a year from now. I bet you have 90 more slides. And
It's
don't,
been almost,
but
yeah.
but yes. So,
But you guys know, like, so I think people that watch the show, you know, we've hung out probably with 99% of all of you at some point. And if you guys, so you guys should be in on something here. We have a group chat and everybody has a nickname in the group chat. And Kopinski's nickname in the chat is John Sherer. So it's awesome.
Apropos, yes. He is the embodiment of John Sherer.
Indeed.
So yeah, so we brought you back on because in the chat you said, man, you guys, I keep finding new stuff all the time. So let's hear what escapades you and your friend Sherer have done over the past year.
Fair enough. So, let's see what we got here. I will try to share my screen, and
as always, if you're watching live, put your questions in the chat. We can bring those back to Chad after he's done filling us in.
I feel bad for anybody listening to this like tomorrow because all the images are going to be.
That's what YouTube's for.
That's right. Darn it.
It's on YouTube.
So, I do want to thank you, John, because you did put up this really nice graphic. And last year when I was on here, I stole it as well because it was really nicely done. I probably should do the disclaimer that all the opinions here are my own. As with all educational endeavors, the thoughts and opinions may change in the face of new information, time, experience, or perspective. What I know today is going to pale with what I know tomorrow. So
that's for sure.
Like I said, I really love this image that you gave it, and you called it John Sherer Part 2. And when we talked about this, I really wasn't quite sure what title to give this presentation. So I kind of went back and forth, thought maybe I'd do like the Return of Sherer. And then I just watched the John Wick movie, so that maybe John Sherer Chapter 2. And honestly, I think I looked at it way too long because at some point I actually went to John Sherer 2 Electric Boogaloo. But it again, but I think I finally settled on for this one. I think we'll call it Yours Faithfully, John Sherer. And I think that'll come clear in just a second.
Classy.
So when I was here last time, just kind of a brief little recap, what I had said was that there are three stories I like to tell about the guy. One is that, the Masonic art of John Sherer, because he probably is the most well-known and ubiquitous artist that you probably have never heard of. Or I could tell the story of, his life and times because he either is a two-bit huckster or a hardworking salesman or, some weird combination of P.T. Barnum or Willie Loman or both. Or I can tell the story that I kind of call my buddy Sherer of how I kind of fell backwards into Masonic research. It's not my background. It's amazing what you can do when you don't know what you're doing. And this all started because I found a book under a secretary's desk. A lodge I belonged to asked me to do a lecture for one of the degrees, and they have this book under the secretary's desk. And yes, if you know Dan Gardner or Heather Calloway, they have nightmares about this picture, just so you know. And when I opened up the book, it's this beautiful set of lithographs. And of course, I asked the gentleman in the lodge about the book. I said, look, what's the history of it? And they said, I don't know. And I went and looked, and all of a sudden I find out that there's this auction house selling the book, and there's all this information about it, that there's only 3 of them that are known to exist in the world. And they didn't mention the one in my little lodge in Ohio. And I said, that's weird, which are 3 sounds, which tend to get you in trouble. Let's be honest. And you can see also on this slide that they're selling it for almost $7,000.
So you put it up on Everything But the House for $3,500.
No, I did try to take the book out of the lodge to get some pictures of it, and the brethren basically they almost curb stomped me on the way down the stairs. So But I'll tell you, it still sits under the secretary's desk, which cracks me up. Anyway,
It's tradition.
it is now. Yeah, we've always done it that way. And then I started, of course, down this weird rabbit hole. I wanted to find everything that Sherer had done. So, of course, Library of Congress and copyright things. And the last time I was here, I was so excited because I thought I'd identified 24 of his works, and I found 18 of them. So excited, 75%.
Were you not excited for this episode?
Oh, I'll tell you,
What are we, top liver now?
We are. He's
You're
big.
gonna come on. You're gonna
No,
come
no,
on
no,
this
no, no.
show.
I
come on
came
the
here
show
expressly for you, Robert. I wore my
day of my
curling hat
daughter's
for you,
wedding?
Robert
So-
Johnson.
Big time
I wore my
dad.
curling hat for you.
Nice.
That's how much I think of you. Anyway, and yes, Sherer was responsible for these images that have just exist all throughout Masonry. These carpets that I have found in almost every single state in the Union. He did so many different iterations of them and different combinations, and it's these that he made his name. But besides being this lithographer and this artist, he also was a writer and wrote a number of books. He also hooked up with some people who, for better or for worse, kind of defined a lot of his life. He read a guy named Rob Morris. And at one point, he and Rob Morris were thick as thieves and were Sherer wrote a Freemason's monitor and put Rob Morris's name on it. And then about a decade later, Sherer publishes another version of the book and scrubs Morris completely out of it. Something happened there. But again, learning more about his life and more about who he is, you just sort of get more and more fascinated. I ended up finding what his lodge was here in Ohio, and recognizing that I got to find his Masonic records and got into the minutes of his lodge. Looking at his death, there was so much mystery around that because we didn't know when he died or where he's buried. Also, after he died, for some reason, his family seemed to go into poverty. There were these national cries for alms for his family, and then they all just kind of disappear. I didn't know what happened to them. And for Sherer himself, pretty much about a decade after he's gone, he's got a boatload of people who are ripping off his work or are filling that void within Masonry for his work. And a lot of that work still lasts to today. It's passed into public domain, so people are selling it on whatever site you want to buy things from, it's on there. Also, a lot of his images started getting passed down into the Magic Lantern slides and into the Kodachrome slides and into the different books. And so that's why I say he's probably the most important artist you probably have never heard of. But it has been this fascination with him that's kind of driven me forward over the last year. And I ended my story talking about why I call my buddy Sherer is because he likes to mess with me. And I told the story of this particular picture of Washington as a Mason. I went into a lodge that I'd been into probably 36 times over the last decade. And, as I was talking to the secretary, I looked up on the wall and this holy grail of Washington as a Mason is sitting up there on the wall where it's been since like 1850 when it was published. Seriously, Sherer is messing with me at this point. And the number of weird coincidences and just weird things that have happened in my search for Sherer, it's at some point you just start laughing. But when I was here a year ago, what I knew then versus what I know now, plus the journey, for lack of a better word, that I've been on, everywhere I go, anybody who's seen this show sort of asks me one of these questions that are up there, and I won't read the slide there, but I'll kind of walk through it. A lot of the questions that I had a year ago, the people who saw the episode did as well, and we know more now than we did a year ago. The first question he'll ask me is, how did the story start? Because there's so much of his early life we don't know. We know when he was born, 1803, and then the next thing we know, he's in New York City dropping off a print of his at the from the Copyright Office. And that's 1837. And then we don't see him again until 1841 when he goes and petitions Clinton Lodge in Massillon, Ohio. And what you can see here on the screen is that he petitions the lodge on the 6th. He gets his EA degree on the 18th. He then gets his fellowcraft degree on the 22nd, and the lodge loans Sherer $11, which is the equivalent of $400 today. February, he gets his Master Mason degree. In September, Sherer decides to leave Massillon, and when he leaves, the lodge refuses to grant him a request for a diploma because of unpaid dues and other charges. And so he gets referred to a committee to see whether they're going to give him a diploma and let him leave the as a Mason in good standing. And in October, he leaves.
All less than a year. Is that like all less than a year, right?
Yeah. If you look, he petitions in January. By October, he's like, peace.
Wow.
And somehow he's managed to make most of the lodge angry at this point, that they just give him a diploma and say, thank you, go.
Question, Chad.
Yes.
So 1841, he's asking for a diploma. This was before dues cards became a thing, right? That was
Correct.
after. Yeah. Okay.
So, this leads into the next part of the story.
How much?
You thank you for the you're so good to me. But lodges would give people almost like a letters of marque, like if you played pirates, so you could go and travel from place to place. One of the things that Sherer does in about 1842, he's working for Dunson or Doolittle and Munson. 1844, he leaves them and puts out a request for copyright to make diplomas, basically diplomas for Royal Arch Masonry and a diploma for Master Mason, which is his first real, Masonic or fraternal work. And last time I was here, I didn't know where these things were, and I want to tell some stories about these two pieces. So I went looking for that Royal Arch chapter diploma, and there's a site where there was a bookseller in Columbus who was selling that particular diploma for $4,700. I emailed that particular seller and asked if by any chance they might send me photos just for research purposes if I promised to never publish them. And they said yes. So you're not going to see them.
Oh.
But here's the funny thing. The day after I got those pictures from the bookseller, the same thing was on sale on eBay for $5.
No.
So, yep. And even better, I posted this lovely story on Facebook. And I also noted that one of the earliest versions or the later versions of Scherer's diploma was sitting in a library in Utah. And I needed to get to Utah to see this thing. I post the story, and about an hour later, two brethren from Malta 118 in Ohio contacts me and says, "Are you serious? That thing's in Utah?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" I said, "One of our brothers is in Utah right now. You want him to go over to the library and get a copy of it?" And the brother did. And the brother went to the library and talked to the librarian, who took great pictures of it, which is sent to me. And the librarian came back the next day and said, "Come back the next day and I'll print it out for you and laminate it," which they gave me the laminated version of it at Grand Lodge this year.
That's amazing.
Just by talking about it to these guys, it was so nice of this.
You have got to just
Oh, I got another one. Wait till the next story.
So cool that they just did that. All right.
Oh, I am so grateful to those guys. And I said, anytime this lodge wants me to come there and speak, or hell, I'll go there and wash dishes. Like you ring, I spring. Have apron, we'll travel. That was so nice of them to do that. But these are the earlier versions of his chapter diploma, which you can kind of see is kind of like that early letter of marque. There's written in a couple of languages is, your degree dates and a proof that you are in fact a Mason. What was also really nice about this is that there are images here from the different degrees at Blue Lodge or chapter. And so imagine if you are traveling, because this is, the 1840s. You may not have a trestle board. You may not have a way to memorize a ritual. Maybe you don't have this if you want to confer a degree. So guys had this little study aid, this little this thing they could carry with them as they traveled. And I mentioned that Blue Lodge, the Master Mason diploma. So again, I post on Facebook how I'm looking for this particular diploma, and I get a Facebook message from a guy named James. And James says, hey, I was kind of looking for some things for my lodges. They're doing a table lodge this week. And as I was looking for things, I found this this Master Mason diploma. I bought it on eBay a couple of years ago. And I asked my friend Dan, and Dan said, you might be interested. Do you know anything about it? Would you like it? I'm like, I was just talking about this thing. This is amazing. Where are you from? He goes, I'm at Arts and Sciences, 792 in Columbus. I said, that's hysterical because I'm speaking at their table lodge next Saturday.
Wow.
So I got to go there and speak about my good friend Chad Simpson, and James Corey handed me this lovely, lovely Master Mason's diploma.
Serendipity.
So, yeah.
That's so damn cool.
Seriously.
I'm telling you, Sherer is being weird to me. But you can see here also a similar type of thing. And this is an art form that he goes back to numerous times. Many of these, as we talked about last time, are on the Library of Congress. And what I've been really sort of excited about is, since my last time on here, I've had a lot of lodges contact me that they've done what we kind of talked about on the episode, which is they are printing these out and they are giving them to brethren when they're raised as sort of a memento of them being raised. I still want Spencer Haman to make his own for because I would plaster that everywhere that I would go. But I mean, the fact that they are bringing these things back to life does my heart good. So this is his first real fraternal artwork are these diplomas. And what's interesting is when you look at where the addresses he uses on these diplomas, you find two of them there in Cincinnati. There's a blue pentagon, which is a residence which is on Pike Street between Congress and Symes, and it's owned by a guy named John Cordingley. On this picture, there's also a red triangle that's on the northeast corner of Broadway and 5th. And a lot of this part of Cincinnati was restructured in the 1950s and 1960s to make way for a couple stadiums and for an interstate system. But what I find really kind of funny is that if you look at a modern map of Cincinnati, where his house is the same block that the Taft Museum of Art is on now. And even more hysterical, and why I know he's messing with me, is that his offices are in a building that is directly across the street from the Cincinnati Masonic Temple. I have stood on that corner dozens upon dozens of times. I met Ched Lasik from Illinois on that corner, and
you were in his backyard the whole time.
Didn't know it until earlier. But that name, John Cordingley, just finding that name last year, it's amazing what got the pieces that fell into place. Because John Cordingley runs a boarding house on that Pike address with his daughters, Mary and Marcianne, who, strangely enough, marries a guy named John Sherer in 1842. Which I think is hysterical, is that the story that I told last year, and this is true, her name gets misspelled all throughout history, including here on her marriage license. But yeah, she's known as Megan, Marcianne, Marsha. But she marries our good friend John in 1842. And they have a number of kids. On the census, in 1840, they list Mary as one of the children, but that would suggest that John had some weird life before he met Marcianne, and I don't find any evidence for that. But they had a number of kids, all within a short amount of time. What also gets to be interesting to me is that, so he's not with Munson and Doolittle all that long. And I started looking at the deeds to that particular building, 69 Pike Street. 1845, Sherer owes money to S.B. Munson, about $460, which is a significant amount of money in 1845, and it's 3 years overdue. His father-in-law, John Cordingley, who owns that particular house, he leases the property to somebody else to help pay off the Scherer's debts, and also gives him an influx of cash because in 1850 is when Sherer first starts printing his big, huge carpets that we all know and love. Even more interesting to me.
So you're saying that you think his father-in-law, through the leasing, had cash to then give to Sherer to go start printing?
I have no direct proof, but the timing sure works out all that well.
Yeah, especially for being in debt, for a lot of early part. Yeah,
yeah.
Interesting.
He'd gone on to work with a couple other people. None of his relationships ever last that long, like his business relationships. What's also interesting about that particular address is that 1853, 3 years later, Cordingley gets the property back on a land contract. He then sells the property to his daughter, and it says expressly in the deed, he sells it to her for $1, but forever free from any and all control of her said husband. It says here, if those of you who are seeing, this is that deed where it says to have and hold the same to her, the said Marcia Ann Sherer, her heirs and assigns forever free from any and all control of her said husband John in any manner or form whatsoever.
In-laws,
what I also think is interesting is by 1857, Mercy Ann, who's at this point is the mother of 4 kids, pregnant with her 5th, she's running a family grocery and a boarding house out of that address, while John is running around the country selling his carpets door to door.
And borrowing money from people.
John might be, but I'm telling you, Mercy Ann's got it on lock. Because
she's good. She's a hustler. Yeah.
Because get this, she ends up buying more properties. So in Cincinnati and also in New Jersey, she's a little landlord person. 1859, John convinces Marcia to sell the Pike House. And it's kind of funny because in the deed in the bill of sale, the person who registered the deed called Marcia back the day later and said, "Are you really sure you want to do this?" And had her sign an attestation that, yep, I am doing this of my own free will and accord. I'm doing this separate of my husband's influence. I promise. John and Marcia tried to move to New Jersey, didn't quite work. They end up living in one of Marcia's homes on Bay Miller Street for most of the rest of their life. She owns a couple more properties, one on Lynn Street, one on Bar Street. Those areas don't exist anymore because there's a stadium there. But I got to tell you, as much as I'm digging John, Mercy Ann's kind of a badass chick, not going to lie.
She's the foundation for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to know what she's all about. So then that'll be the next thing I probably look into. The other thing that people kind of ask me about is, did I catch them all? Did I get all the things I was looking at, all of his work? Well, like I said, last time I was here, I was so excited. I thought I'd had a complete and definitive list of all of his work. All 24 of those things. A year later, no, I found a lot more. Now, percentage-wise, I'm okay. A year ago, I was at 75%. Now I'm at 81.1%. But the hard part is that he keeps reissuing his stuff under different names, under different publishers, under different formulations, for lack of a better word. And some of these I've located, but I have not yet gotten a physical picture of. But I don't know, out of 53, having 10 left to get, we'll see what the next year gets me. And some of them are really interesting. This the stories about those particular pieces. I got to tell you about my visit to go see my good friend Joe Martinez, because that was a really weird weekend. Not because it's Joe, but
What the hell?
so I'm on my drive down to Virginia, and previously I had met a guy named David Allen from Richmond Randolph Lodge, and they have a copy of the Sherer book, and I had spoken with them, and it was very similar to the one that we had in Amesville, different, just later. But on the way down to Joe's neck of the woods, I get a call from a guy named David from Grand Lodge who said that he'd spoken to Doug Kaler in Ohio and the guys at Richmond, and they said, well, that I was the person to speak to about Sherer, because he was sitting next to a stack of these Masonic degree books and didn't know what to do with them. And I'm midway through West Virginia at this particular point in time, and as we're talking about these books, I realize that the books that he has, they fill in a couple of holes for me on that list of pieces that I need, because Sherer had done a couple of different iterations of this book, including taking a piece of his that he had originally titled A Tribute to Virtue and Integrity in 1855. He had added to it with a couple of other pieces, one for the Fellowcraft, one for the Master Mason, that I didn't know had existed before. And so this filled in that particular hole for me. I also realized that in speaking to them, that last time I was here, I spoke about his Jerusalem is besieged by Titus.
That was the new finding, right?
Well, this one is different than the one that I had. So the one that is in the book that I showed last time was an original one. This was the reprint he did, but still, these are not usually seen.
Wow. Is this identical, or is this slightly altered?
This is very slightly altered. It is a smaller image. It has kind of the festooned pattern background, and it has the 4 little circles in the corner with small scenes. And that was not in the one that I showed originally.
You're welcome, Chad. You're welcome.
Oh, it gets better. So I'm thinking about this phone call, and I go and I'm waiting I was sitting with a friend of mine, and they weren't off of work yet. So I'm sitting in a library in Bethesda and looking at my presentation, and a guy says, a guy named Matt Bosch texts me and says, hey, were you still looking for those, chapter and council carpets, the big ones that Sherer did? And I said, yeah, but I have no proof that he actually published them. Why? He said, well, I'm looking at one right now. He had been doing some research and had found this in a museum in Washington State. And so sent me the pictures of this. I finally had proof that it was published, and, had this now for my study. It was a very Sherer weekend, and it was kind of funny because I was walking through Joe's lodge. I actually found a little bit of Sherer up in the little side rooms. So, but it was a great weekend. I am grateful to Joe and your lodge for asking me down. It was a wonderful weekend, so thank you.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Other sort of weird things, I started looking into some of the other work that he did, and there's some stories about what's on the screen right now. What's on the screen right now are 2 of his pieces for Oddfellows. And one of the things I think is absolutely hysterical to this, and I'll tell you the story. The one on the left is from 1856. And I get a phone call from my good friend Dan Gardner. Says, I found this on an auction site. I think it's Sherer. Is it? And so it doesn't have any of the normal sort of flower boxes on it that say that it is actually Sherer. And so he and I sat there and looked at this over and over and over again. And based off of the image, the arrangement, the pattern on the border, I said, Dan, I'm not a betting man, but I would tell grandma to bet the farm and her teeth on this. And Dan did, and he got that for his museum, which we were both very excited about. Later on the year, the piece on the left, which was Sherer's encampment chart, comes up for auction as well. And I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the auction. But one night I get a text from Dan Gardner saying, well, I tried. Okay. He said, well, I was bidding on that Sherer encampment chart, but the last hour somebody kept bidding me up and bidding me up and bidding me up, and I got it, but I got it for a lot more than I wanted to. And Dan and I were in talks to have me go out to Montana to visit the museum and kind of speak there. And he's like, I think it may kind of put a crimp in our budget. I'm not sure that we can actually like bring out. I'm like, dude, that's totally fine. I'm just so glad you got it. We're great. I stopped talking to Dan. About 5 minutes later, I get a text from Heather Calloway from Indiana saying, well, I tried. She had spent the last hour trying to bid on this particular thing for her museum in Indiana. And I told her that I told both of us that next time, let's just get on a Zoom call with some wine and we'll just watch it together. But these will soon be existing in one of their museums, and I'll get to study it there. But it's also interesting that these things do come up for sale. I mean, I think that's where I found a lot of things that have surprised me. I mentioned that that Washington is a Mason that I found in that lodge in Ohio. On eBay, looking for another version of it, I found this one I didn't know existed from 1856. Washington is a Mason by Sherer. It's done about, what is that? 8 years later from the original. What is also interesting to me is I started looking more into the one on the early one from Thiel and Sons. It says on it, it was a guy named Casper Thiel had applied for copyright, and that he had published it through his firm Thiel and Sons. I can tell you that no such firm named Thiel and Sons was ever registered in Cincinnati. I can tell you that Casper Thiel was a guy who kind of ran land schemes all throughout Ohio while he was in public office. He was removed as a postmaster from a city in Ohio, went to Cincinnati for about a year where he published this lovely sheet of Washington as a Mason, and then escaped to a town in Illinois where the last we heard of him, he had started 2 newspapers, one Whig, one Democrat. He was the editor and published articles basically arguing about, how awful the other paper was. And he had gotten himself hired as the secretary for an oil company that was forming. So he was taking minutes of their meeting until after one meeting, he decided he didn't want the job anymore and didn't want to release the minutes of that meeting until the other officers of the corporation paid him a lot more money. These are the kind of people that our buddy Sherer is running with. The other piece from 1856, I spoke to the person selling that on eBay. And when I told him, I said, well, I have some questions about this. He let me know that I asked him, I said, well, you have this listed. The guy who hosts is the guy named John Sherer. He said, no, it isn't. I put this into AI and it told me it's this guy. And he sent me what his AI had sent him. The AI, when it gave its citations, it cited one of the articles that I wrote. So it's nice to know that the things I've written are somehow being misused by AI to give wrong information. So, but it was nice to see, these things happen. The other issue that I've kind of run into again is there's weird stories, and just as these things, as I'm finding them, one question gets answered and 2 more get asked. This is a piece that both of these are in the Library of Congress, but I'll tell you that they are mislabeled and they are misattributed. So they are called Masonic diplomas in the Library of Congress, but their actual title is the form, and I'm getting it wrong. Sorry, it's the form, and covering of a lodge. What's interesting about this is that one of these is from May 1861, where he's working with G.A. Menzel and Company. It's a lithography he's worked with for many years. In about June of 1861, Menzel shuts its doors and like leaves Ohio in a hurry. So September of that year, Sherer files for copyright and publishes the one on the right. No idea what the story is, no idea why, but one of these is from May, one of these is from September in the same year. And so, no, I haven't caught them all yet. And it kind of runs into this idea of, who was this guy? Was he a hero? Was he a tortured artist? Was he just a plagiarist? Because when you read a lot of the critiques of Sherer, they basically say that he brought nothing new to the table, that he just ripped off Jeremy Cross or he just ripped off somebody else. And that may possibly be true, or it may be the case that there's only so many ways that you can, depict a beehive. Looking at his professional relationships, you can see none of them last that long. Very few of them last more than a year or two. I don't know what that tells me other than if Marsha's good with the money and, he's running through relationships like this left and right, kind of gives you an idea of what kind of person he may actually be. The three longest relationships he has is with R.W. Carroll, who actually, towards the end of his life, puts him on as a publisher and puts a lot of his works back into publication. The Pettibone Company, who probably did the most for him, they come on board in 1872 and they publish his things long past when they probably had gone out of fashion. But if in your lodge you have a Sherer print, more than likely it's one that was printed by the Pettibone brothers. McCoy picks up his work in 1895, and they still publish it today. You can actually buy some of his lecture charts on their website. And like I said, Pettibone really sort of does the most to kind of keep his name in the public eye, does the most to kind of keep his stuff out there. This is from their 1893 catalog, and again, available on the Library of Congress. And you can see they write such glowing things about our buddy Sherer, and they have facsimiles of his work, of his diplomas, and of course, right next to that, they have a boatload of his images on slides for their magic lanterns. If we're looking for a villain of this story, we probably could use the MC Lilly Company out of Columbus. They never come out and actually, mention him by name, because why in the world would you mention your, hated enemy by name? But they spend a lot of time in a lot of their own publications talking about how great their work is compared to, that other house in Cincinnati. What's on the screen here is an advertisement for their new charts that are the exact same size as Scherer's charts, have the same emblems, but these are not the same charts advertised by Cincinnati House. And yes, Lilly, for the rest of his life, for the rest of their time together, they put out, knockoffs. In fact, the picture that's on the right hand of your screen, that is from the museum in Indiana. I went and spoke to James Buckhorn's lodge, I was and spoke at Founders Day in Indiana and did my thing on Sherer, and we didn't realize that there was a Sherer inspired piece in the museum. Not actually Sherer, it's Lilly, and but it's still a cool piece. He fought off critiques from Jeremy Cross his entire life, saying that Jeremy Cross firmly believed that Sherer ripped him off and wrote about it. What's also interesting is that Sherer himself says people kept ripping him off. This is a piece that I just found recently, one of his contemporaries ripping Sherer off. So, maybe it's imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Who knows? How does the story end? Well, like I said, I'm trying to sort of track down his family, and it'd be nice to find out where he's buried. It'd be nice to find out, sort of what happened to his family, if everything has existed down to today. later on in life, his son Joseph actually starts publishing and publishes his own degree chart a year after his dad does. It's about the only thing he ever actually publishes, except for a couple of books. But he gets in the family business. But what's more interesting is that Marshan ends up kind of running a market and being a sales lady in Cincinnati for a few years. But after a while, she and her kids go back to their home in New Jersey. And by 1880, Marcia and her daughter, also Marcia and Albert, are living in New Jersey. 1885, Joseph comes and joins them. And by 1890, she dies peaceably there in New Jersey. And I just got an email, honestly, about 10 minutes ago. It just popped up, letting me know that her death certificate will be in my mailbox tomorrow. So it's a little bit late for me to show you guys, but so that is, at least I know where she is, and I can live with that for now. Is he still messing with me? Yeah. And probably one of the best stories that I can tell about this is this. Again, in my district, in my neck of the woods, this is Trimble Lodge, a lodge I've been to easily 100 times in the last, 15 years. On their wall, they are so proud of this tapestry that they received when another lodge merged with them. If you go there, they will show it to you oh so proudly. I went over to the lodge and I was helping them with a degree, and they left me to my own devices. And I do what I like to do when I go to visit lodge. I just started poking around. And I looked in a closet right by the front door. And there, sitting where they've been probably rolled up for the last 100 years or so, are 3 really beautiful Sherer prints that were the original ones of the lodge. First time I'd ever held them in my hands. So, yeah, he's messing with me. But he's also brought me new friends and new connections. And he's brought me to different places I never thought in the world I'd ever possibly go. And so, I guess that's what I would come to expect from, my good friend, John Sherer, which is why I really like to title this, Yours Faithfully, John Sherer. So thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for letting me come back and tell this next part of the story.
That was phenomenal, man.
So.
That was phenomenal. I was absolutely enraptured the entire time. So thank you.
Well, and you heard this like 4 months ago, and it's changed since then.
I wasn't paying attention that day.
I know, and I wasn't.
You can't pay attention when you're the host of anything,
That is true.
Like, okay.
All kidding aside, before you even go, I remember when because I had a great weekend with Chad, and he was so jazzed that because he told me about all those extra Sherer bits that had popped up just on his drive there. And he was doing his talk, and I'm sitting up in the east, and I just remember not paying attention to half of it because there were like 2 dudes on their phones, and I was about to lose my shit. Like staring at their phone. And I'm like, oh my God, Chad's here, and you're on your phone. And that's all that I gravitated towards. So I'm glad that, Chad, you got to tell this story again, because I was salty that night. So thank you.
All right, question. I have a question for you. So was he the artist, or did he outsource the artwork, or was he more of a publisher? Like
I did all of it. She did everything else, man. She raised the family, owned property. She probably
is it like the rider weight system here we got, or what do you think?
There are items where he is definitely the lithographer. He's the guy who took the artwork and carved it into the stone and did that. There are items where he is the publisher. In fact, one of the things I found out is, that big print of the Temple of Solomon that everyone says is his. Yeah, he's not the artist on that. At most, he is a publisher. And I have yet to find the copyright for that big, huge honking piece. He just published it for many, many years, so I associate with him.
I hate that piece of art.
There are a few artists that he worked with. I didn't mention them on that list of collaborations, but some of the art is his. Some of the art, other people, he's just the publisher or the lithographer.
And the reason I ask is, as we saw the evolution of these different things, and the copycats, and the copyright trademark, disputes, right? the style shifts over time, even on all of the work that's claimed to be under his publication. So that's what I was wondering is, and which then leads me to the follow-up question is like, how do you have that eye now? Because you said you could kind of look at something and say, I'm pretty sure that's Sherer. What makes you so sure when you see that now, if it's something that is a Sherer or not? Or is it some je ne sais quoi?
I think anybody who, sort of judges a word probably looks at the totality. When I see that green ornate border around, he used that so very often. When I look at the style of the lines on the images, when I look at the arrangement of the images, usually he's really nice and puts his name in a big old like box in the corner that's about that big, saying, "Hi, this is me. This is, by John Sherer." But even when he doesn't, again, it's the lines, it's the patterns, it's the colors that they use, and oftentimes it's the arrangement of symbols. Telling an MC Lily from a Sherer is really difficult, and one of the ways that I know how to do it is that Sherer never put the words "trust in God" on any of his work, and Lily did on many of it and on much of it. And so, if you see the words "trust in God" on your print, not a Sherer, probably a Lily.
Interesting.
So.
I say I'm fascinated by those little nuances, those little things that you have that trained eye to catch now. I
don't know how trained it is. I think it's smart. I've just been looking at it for so long. I'm like, oh, the hard part is, and this sounds silly, you don't realize how much you know until somebody asks you. Like, I don't think I know a damn thing. And then Gardner's like, look at this. I'm like, oh yeah, this is so I think anybody who actually comes out and says, yes, I'm an expert, probably may not be. I imagine I don't know. Maybe I just have imposter syndrome, but I have no idea the knowledge that I have until somebody actually. Oh, thank you. You giving me that?
That's your title down there says you're a Sherer expert.
I know. I can't get like curling aficionado. Like I'm wearing the hat.
Stick to Sherer.
There's something to say about, and I think this is true for anybody who's listening, thinking, man, Chad, this is incredible, like how you got started on it and how it's a living thing, and you have done so much work in compiling this and knowing the history from places on maps to just everything. And I think the thing that's fascinating is there's room for everyone in this space. And I think while Chad has found this gem in Sherer, it's so incredible because there are so many like other people that nobody knows anything about that have these weird loose ties to Freemasonry. And I think if this tells us or shows us or inspires anything, I'm hoping that it, for the guys listening at home, go, oh man, like there's this one dude who was whatever, and we should know more about this. I mean, immediately I'm listening to this thinking, oh man, what happened to that presentation I was doing on so-and-so? And like, I instantly was like, I need to get back on that. Right.
Here's the thing that I wish people would do, Robert. Thank you for the nice words, by the way. So I'm looking through all these catalogs, right, from the 1880s and 1890s. And all of a sudden I realized something. If your lodge has pillars in it, those columns, nobody makes those anymore. So I would want every single Mason here to go to their lodge and find out where the hell they got those columns from. Because the costumes you use for the third degree, nobody makes them anymore. So they came from one of a couple of people who furnish those things. Just the columns themselves, because one of the things that kind of happens as I'm doing this is I'm noting all these different Masonic or fraternal companies that existed that pop up, and I don't know that anybody's ever done a complete list or timeline of those companies. I would love it if someone were to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even if you could just right now go to your lodge and figure out where the hell you got your columns from, that would, and put that out into the world. Post it on Facebook. Post it, tell your lodge of research. Just that, it'd be amazing what that would add to the whatever, to the sphere of education and sphere of research and just the discussion. So,
and that's kind of what you said in the green room, is like, you still feel humble enough to say that, like, you feel like you're not a Sherer expert. You're a Sherer expert. But that you fell into it, and so it's something that if you just start pulling the thread, you'd be surprised what you could find. And it could start anywhere, literally anywhere, even under a secretary's table.
Well, and don't listen to Shirley. That's what I want to say, is like that voice that says, surely somebody has written this book. Surely,
right.
if this were important, surely somebody has already done this. Or surely I have nothing to say about this. Somebody needs to tell Shirley to just get out the building.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Damn, I was hoping somebody was going to drop the airplane joke. So good.
I set you guys up.
I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions for Chad?
No, always love hearing Chad talk. Chad, thank you, man, for
Chad.
This was awesome.
I have a question, and I'll say, given everything that you figured out, one, what would be like the golden ticket if you found it? What's that thing that if you found it would just be like, obviously you got to keep looking and searching, but what would be the one thing if you found it, you'd just be like, oh my God.
Good question.
And two, what is like the next step in terms of research? Where do you have to go? What are you looking for?
Two awesome questions. So the Holy Grail that I have left, two things. I want to find out where he was buried, and I almost had it. Again, looking through the deed books, I found where a guy named John Sherer was buried. I found the church. I found a map. I found those things, and I was was 2 minutes from getting into the car to like drive to Cincinnati there, and but I emailed the historian for the church, who told me, no, that was a pastor with the same exact name, and it wasn't him. And I saw you all kind of deflate for a second. No. I danced with joy, as silly as it sounds, because when you're wrong, oh man, how great is it? Because now that means I don't have to stay wrong. Now I'm one more step towards being right. There was a whole set of things that I could absolutely exclude now and focus on this. So yeah,
That's a great attitude. I love that. That's amazing.
Love that.
And
yeah.
I just assumed he became a pastor and started selling biblical prints.
No, listen, we didn't. What I didn't say, and I think I said in my last presentation, he never paid dues. He was not a Mason in good standing at any point during his life, or a good member in good standing of chapter, council, and commandery, or Eastern Star, or Odd Fellows. Like, dude didn't pay dues. Anyway, I would love to have a piece of paper with his actual wet signature on it. If there's a, somewhere out there, there's this, diary or journal or business records, that would be lovely as well. The next step for me, honestly, a lot of his stuff is in a library in Massachusetts. So I got to go to Massachusetts. I think, I'll be honest, I'm kind of at the point now where I feel like I need to write this stuff down and get it somewhere. Only because in the writing of the filtering through it to actually put it down into the story, I'm finding the holes and I'm finding the pieces that I need, and I'm making those connections. All of a sudden I'm realizing, how John Cordingley fits into this, or where, I think I need to talk about it with people. It's amazing what I learned when I talk to other people and the different things that come up. But yeah, at some point you need to sort of take what you've learned and pass it along to others. And I think I'm at the point now where I got a lot of stuff. And
well, related to that,
yep.
So another thought that came to mind as I was listening is like, so when is the John Sherer Library, or at least exhibit, going to be formed? Right, that would be amazing because you've got these documented from all over the country here. Like,
Okay, so here's
wouldn't it be
another
cool?
story I didn't tell. So one of the diplomas
because of course you have a story. I love it.
One of the diplomas that I had pictures of came to me from a guy named was a Grandmaster of Ohio named Doug Kaler, and I told the story I think in the last one that he somebody had given it to him at Grand Lodge. He called me. I was on my way home, which I think was his way of letting me know that I probably shouldn't leave Grand Lodge early. Doug misplaced that for a while, and it was the only one of that diploma that either of us had ever seen. Doug is now one of the people in charge of the Grand Lodge Museum in Ohio. And in moving and shifting some things, he found that diploma again. And there's a brother named Sean Smith, who I've been talking to, who also is he likes what I'm doing with Sherer. And they really would like to, they'd like to see what they can do about Sherer at the Grand Lodge of Ohio Museum. And if that were to happen, I think that would be absolutely outstanding. And nice. I gave that $5 chapter and council diploma that I bought, I gave that to Heather because I figured that she won't mess it up, and I probably will. I think it'd be great if this stuff could actually get into so other people can see it. You know, like nice. Chris Hodap said one of the nicest things that I never thought of. After I spoke in Indiana, and it wasn't Founders Day, it was actually the Lodge of Research who met on that same day. He came up to me and said, "You've resurrected him." I said, "What?" I said, You've resurrected this man. He is in ways he's living and breathing again because you decided to, look under a desk in a lodge." And who the hell am I? Like that was.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Like I've gone to lodges, Chad, and we've talked about whatever. Okay. Recently I was in Oregon. Not recently, but like last year or so.
Yeah, a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And literally the master of the lodge said, "Oh, I've got something that I have to show you. I don't have Chad's number." And I was like, "What?" And he walks me over to their library and shows me the Sherer carpet that they had, which was framed and actually fell off the wall. So they were in the process of reframing it, a custom new frame. The master he's a carpenter, so he's making a custom frame for it. And so here I am trying to take this bird's eye view of this like 15 by 20 foot carpet that's a Sherer carpet. And I'm sending it over to Chad, right? It's so crazy. Nobody would have known the history until you showed them. So it's pretty baller, dude.
Yep. Love it.
Thank you. The reason people say nice things about me, I'm always afraid something bad is about to happen. But
I can start insulting the hell out of you if you want, if it brings you back down to earth.
So. Maybe it should, just make sure this doesn't get too big. But the other thing is, and I think that's one thing that I wish people would know is that like anybody can do this. I'm a theater major, like by trade, like that's what I did for years before I did what I do now. All somebody has to do is just be curious and just ask questions. And just like I'm telling you, if every single one of your listeners would go and just figure out where their columns came from, it would be amazing to see. I mean, I think we'd all be surprised at what we found, even just by that little thing. So.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Brother Chad, thank you so much for giving us part 2, Electric Boogaloo of John Sherer. This is fantastic. And so, obviously, I have to ask you, when you come back next year, how much more information you're going to have. So I really
Probably
am
at that
looking
point,
forward
I'll be
to.
like, my hope is that if I come back a year from now, I have the book that I'm promoting and saying, hi, please buy this thing. That's what I'm
I
hoping
look forward to it. Look forward to it.
or at least a paper that I can say, hi, I've given this to Robert Johnson to publish in something, so
Love it.
but that would, but here's the other thing is I don't know what I'm going to find. Like what I knew a year ago versus what I know today. Who knows what I'm going to find tomorrow? And I think I can't wait.
All thanks to your buddy Sherer.
My
Awesome.
buddy Sherer. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Thanks again. Appreciate you coming on, and you're always welcome back.
Thank you.
And for everyone else watching, thank you all for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.